I think we need to talk about it. It's a big elephant, or should I say a big demon hunter in the room. He talked about Illidan returning. He dropped the line, you are not prepared. And it's very interesting, to say the least. We did predict that Illidan would likely come back, but in what fashion, in what way? Something to do with the sword. That's kind of what Chris Metzen hinted at. Let's check this thing out and see what Doran has to say so far about how Illidan will be returning.
I don't know if you noticed, but in the most recent Chris Metzen interview, he not only confirmed that the removal of the Sword of Sargeras and Silithus is going to be a last Titan event and we will see it, but he also strongly hinted that Illidan is going to be returning as well.
Did he confirm that the sword event would be in the last Titan? I mean, if I had to guess, I would say yes, that's probably the expansion that it happens in, because we have, we already know Midnight is going to be the Night Elf expansion, probably have something to do with the Sunwell, things like that, so that'll be that expansion. And then a Titan-based expansion surely had something to do with the giant Titan sword that's in our planet. So that makes sense.
Sargeras is coming, well then, Sargeras is coming himself. Do you think it's ridiculous that Sargeras is even imprisoned at this point?
Yeah, I said Ian, my bad. Chris Metzen was
thinking that the Titans are the good guys. They're keeping the big bad guy in jail because he wanted to destroy the universe, and of course, they only want to build it. However, by all the new lore, the Titans are not the good guys whatsoever, and while Sargeras is splitting planets with a sword, they are instead planting brainwashing mechanisms that will ultimately blow up the planet, accomplishing the exact same thing. I think the Sargeras Pantheon split was a big misunderstanding on how to deal with the Void, and as the Void is now actually destroying Azeroth through Xal'atath and the Pantheon obviously failed, I think they will embrace the radical measures of their new champion, Sargeras. They will realize that he was right and he might just be rejoining the Titans, which leaves Illidan as once again the protector of Azeroth. What is all this news and what is going
Well, it will, but would you think that he would rejoin? I could imagine like Sargeras and Illidan as a more likely team up than Sargeras rejoining his siblings. He has a bitter hatred for his siblings, Sargeras does. So I can't believe, he's already killed them once too. I can't imagine them re-teaming up, honestly. I imagine Sargeras returning maybe with Illidan in some way, not like an anti-hero maybe, there's no redemption arc for Sargeras, but returning to kind of do his thing and help us defeat the Titans, in fact.
on? Actually playing WoW on your phone is now possible with Awesome, this video sponsor. It allows you to control your desktop from your phone completely free, which is perfect for checking in on your WoW characters when you're away from the keyboard. It's super easy to use, just click my link in the description, download the PC and the phone app and just connect them. The free version is great as you can control your desktop, but the real deal is the game version with custom keyboards for various games such as WoW with great FPS and sound as well. Make sure to use my code Doran to get 7 days completely free, only for the first 200 people. They also got a smart plug to turn off your PC at any time, as well as hot sales with up to 40% off on Pro and game versions. Check out Awesome. So it is pretty obvious that the Sword of Sargeras is a pretty big deal in the World Soul Saga. It essentially opened the cinematic, it was all over their promotional artwork on BlizzCon, yet a lot of people had wondered, how does this even make sense? I mean, literally there are no hints of something happening with it in the War Within, and we are in Kazagar, which, while close, is not exactly connected, so why is the cinematic opening up the sword and we are not even going to Silithus? Well, we just got the answer in the newest Chris Metzen interview.
I will say, before he says anything, the sword clearly led to disruptions in Azeroth, right? It's a giant sword that penetrated the planet, so it reverberated all over the planet. And one of those reverberations was the Hellowfall crystal. It's already in the lore that the crystal itself remained in the light up until that sword hit the planet, and then it started to transition between void and light. So there's been effects all over the planet, one of which we are currently dealing with, so it makes sense that we're now in Kazagar. Also, Kazagar is an entryway into the planet. So it makes sense, too, that we're dealing with the World Soul, and now we're going to the place where you can get close to accessing the World Soul.
Released on their own channel. Essentially, it boils down to the fact that this is a saga and this is an expansion unlike any other. The saga is in fact one gigantic expansion, and these are like 3 chapters, so War Within is not really the culmination of anything, it is just the opening scene. Think of it as a trilogy, and this is the first movie. Now, this is not my interpretation of it. Chris Metzen literally hinted in the new cinematic that the sword is going to be a big thing, a major thing, but that it is a 13th thing, meaning it is going to happen happen in The Last Titan 13.0, which is the final chapter of the saga. Now, I gotta say, honestly, the newest Chris Manson interview is really one of the best things that came from Blizzard these past few years, and it really
Yeah, it was
does
good.
seem like the passion is actually there, and that they're legit cooking. It's not one of those, like, you're listening to feedback and then we get some mediocre story. Like, it really seems like they're cooking full steam and really trying to pull something amazing from this World Soul saga, at least from a lore perspective. Now,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The team is cooking. The storyline so far, and I won't give any spoilers, but the storyline so far in The War Within, and some people might think it's crazy that I'm going to say this, is as good as WoD. Yeah, now people will look back and be like, oh my god, Warlords of Draenor, what are you talking? That was a freaking horrible expansion. No, it was bad at the end, but the beginning of WoD was a kickoff like I never, it was amazing. I love the entry story to WoD, even though it got a little bit weird with some time travel bullshit. The introduction of the Iron Horde, running away from the blasts that were happening, entering the world and seeing the Iron Horde at the top of the mountain after you just literally evaded their army in death. That entire storyline was really, really good as an entry. And The War Within so far is the best I've seen since then. The intro story for The War Within is freaking amazing. Dealing with the different characters has all been really fun. Going through their storylines, there's some big moments, really nice cutscenes. Again, I'm not going to talk about them yet because some people just started playing the expansion. But so far, the team is cooking, to say the least.
Are a few things
I didn't
Chris
spoil
hinted at
anything.
in the interview, which is really interesting.
Spoiler.
And this is something I've been talking about pretty much since the announcement of the World Soul Saga back on BlizzCon, and that is the half-confirmed return of Illidan, and by extension Sargeras, which is legit going to be one of the biggest comebacks we've had in a while. I don't know if you guys noticed this slight hint, but as he said that the removal of the sword is going to be a Last Titan thing, he said we are not prepared for this moment, which, if that is not a hint for Illidan coming back, then I don't know what is. Let me just bring you up to speed with what we currently know. So, a few months back, we learned that the giant void crystal in Halifol first started turning into a void cycle as Sargeras plunged the sword at the end of Legion.
Yeah, your boy just said that, literally. So, yeah, it's you are not prepared. He is clearly hinting at one character and one character only.
And we got a void arc talking about how the Titans and Sargeras are really not at all different. They just use different methods, and Sargeras is more radical. Now, there is obviously some sort of a big conspiracy going on where the void, the light, the Titans, and Sargeras are coming, or were coming for our planet, and they knew something that we currently don't. I don't necessarily think Sargeras wanted to help the void with his crystal and help Zaltet, but I think he wanted to start this current process because he knew he couldn't win, and he just wanted to prove the Titans wrong. It was not at all about destroying Azeroth. I previously laid out this theory, but I do think we know nothing about Sargeras, or at least we don't have actual insider information.
I actually still think that the Azeroth soul itself is imprisoned right now by the Titans, by his Sargeras' siblings, and I think he was trying to break that prison open. I don't know if he was necessarily trying to start the switching of the crystal and Halifal. I don't know if he cared to that, like those minor nuances. I think he was just trying to break the prison walls open and free Azeroth's soul. Basically saying, like, if I can't have it, nobody can kind of moment.
The extent of our knowledge is that he was like this fallen angel type thing. He was a good, benevolent titan ordering planets.
No, you're wrong,
really crazy. He wanted to wipe it all out and undo all their work because he didn't believe the void can be wiped out without a burning crusade. However, that is almost certainly BS because we're constantly learning now that the Titans are in fact massive liars and that they're essentially just using us. Recent Chronicle book states Azeroth is neutral, it can turn into a void thing as well as a Titan, so it isn't a Titan whatsoever, and all these Titan facilities are just one gigantic conversion mechanisms. Also, recent Orc Hermit guy told us that Sargeras and the Titans are really not that different. I think the entire theory that Sargeras was driven crazy by Fel and just started blasting might be BS. I think the entire Titan Pantheon Sargeras split was a misunderstanding on the strategy on how to deal with the void, and that Sargeras wanted radical methods, while the Titans thought they could do it their own way. The Titans are very sly. They're essentially constantly gaslighting you. They order planets, appear as these gods and creators and create everything, but God forbid you decide to question their methods and what they really...
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense the Titans kind of appear the way they do, right? They come down as... they introduce themselves basically as divine. And that's probably the best way to do it. I mean, if you want to come down to a planet as an alien, which they kind of are, and convince the people of the planet, you know, to listen to you and to understand your ways, you want to come down as a divine creature, right? You want to come down as something at a divine level, because then people are more likely to listen to you. If you come down and they act like you're from somewhere else, you're some kind of alien, it's less likely that the denizens of the planet you've just visited are going to listen. But when you come down as a spiritual creature of divinity, oh, then maybe your word is more likely to be heard as gospel rather than just some kind of, oh, this is another idea from a foreign world.
Doing because
Sam equals
you
divine
will
wrath.
get purged. Slight spoilers on the War Within, but you're going to see what I'm talking about in the War Within questlines. Now, I think as Sargeras discovered the planet, he realized the void can't really be contained by the way the Titans want to, which I think he is actually right about. Did you notice that pretty much all Titan prisons ultimately ended up failing over time? All the old gods essentially broke free, their followers turned to the Curse of Flesh, they seem to have hidden a fifth old god here in Kazakar that they couldn't even contain, but they lied about it. Remember, the lore states Sargeras realized this when he first encountered a world soul that was fully corrupted by the void, and he just decided.
By the way, he makes a very good point that all the prisons and basically every way that the old gods have tried to stop, the Titans have tried to stop the old gods has failed. Even as much as like Aman'Thul ripping out Yag, from the planet. Like that failed because he freaking almost destroyed the planet entirely. So all these different things that have happened over time, the Titans have failed. The one thing that's been successful for the Titans is us, right? We're the one thing that has been able to defeat the old gods time and again and push back against the void. We are the one thing. So that, I mean, the Titans have contemplated wiping the planet clean. The only reason why they kept us around is because, maybe they could use us. And use us they certainly have. Even though we got the Curse of Flesh, we have been the thing that has pushed back against the old gods over and over. We are the only reason why Azeroth is not completely infected yet.
To split it in half. I think he had first-hand experience on what happens when the void actually succeeds, and he realized that this is way beyond the scope of what the Titan methodology can accomplish. He needed to embrace the fel and just go crazy. The Titans didn't really think this is the way. Now, of course, this is the known lore, but the difference was that I don't think Sargeras was actually crazy, like he was driven crazy. I think they ultimately wanted to do the same thing, and the Titans are not much different from the Burning Legion. They're just using different methods. I mean, sure, they don't split planets in half with a sword, but instead they plant a mechanism that will blow up the planet if the opposite cosmology...
I'm not going crazy, guys. I'm just passionate about the damn lore. I mean, what the hell? What's wrong with you guys? Deep breaths. I have COVID. I can't take a deep breath. But here I am streaming anyways. And this lore is core to the game. This is this is lore that has began from the very, very beginning, right? This is Titan lore is a string that runs all the way through World of Warcraft from the very beginning, and it's all coming to a culmination. Excuse me if I get a little bit excited. All right.
4 starts winning.
Jeez.
Now this here is where Illidan's return is almost guaranteed. Sarah saw some vision back in Legion beyond just the Burning Legion and this Burning Legion invasion, which is why she wanted to convert him for this future thing. At the time, Illidan believed Sargeras was the end-all be-all, which is why he dedicated his life to battling the fel. However, all of that is just one single part of the puzzle. Remember, Sargeras was imprisoned by the Pantheon and Illidan remained as his jailer. All Illidan really wanted to do was to protect Azeroth. However, now that the Titans are coming as the villains, why exactly would he keep working as their servant? Furthermore, when you think about it, Illidan and Sargeras are really similar. Both were misunderstood and used radical methods and were imprisoned for that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Sargeras was a good guy all along, we just misunderstood him destroying countless planets, but there is no way Illidan and Sargeras haven't been talking, and that Sargeras failed him.
I feel like they have been talking, and they're coming to realize that they both been somewhat played in a way, and both are willing to do anything. We know that. Both are willing to do anything to achieve their end goals, and by anything, I mean they could team up. You never know. If their goals are aligned, I could imagine them teaming up.
On the manipulative nature of the Titans. Because of that, I'm almost certain Sargeras and Illidan are going to be returning in The Last Titan. I'm not saying they're coming here as Batman and Robin, the good guys, but I somehow feel like Sargeras might rejoin the Pantheon and that Illidan is going to be in a bit of a Maiev jailer scenario. One of the theories I previously mentioned was that the split happened because the Pantheon disagreed on how radical they need to go when it comes to removing the void. Titans, at the time, figured out prisons and facilities and brainwashing will work. Sargeras disagreed and they had a big fight. Now, Sargeras plunged the sword as a more of a screw you, I was right to the Titans. Remember, the crystal turned the moment he struck, which Sargeras almost certainly knew about, and this started the void conversion plan of Zealotet that she's doing right now. Essentially, it was like, oh yeah, if you're going to imprison me, let me just trigger this, and then you will see the true nature of the void, and that your prisons and mechanisms are absolute BS that is completely ineffective. Now, as Azeroth is actually getting converted throughout the saga, the Titans are going to see that he was right and that they need to embrace similar methods and that they will
might go for help.
need to brute force Azeroth. This is exactly what Iridikron was talking about, that soon we will see the true
That's true. I forgot about it. This is Iridikron's plan to bait the Titans out. That's right. He's going to bait them out. Now, I don't know how he plans on defeating them. It's absolute insanity, if you ask me, but he has a plan, I guess, to defeat them. Oh my, holy shit. What the shit? Beard, oh my god. 579. Holy shit, thank you, man.
Nature of the Titans and how little they care about us. I do think it might be possible that they actually freeze Sargeras. I mean, it's even ridiculous that he's imprisoned when you really think about it. Just think about the fact that Sargeras is currently imprisoned by the Titan Pantheon, which are his own people, for seemingly ruining the universe, and there is literally only a few Titans in the entire universe. This, of course, all makes sense on the premise that the Titans want good for planets, hence they're keeping the bad guy in jail. However, all recent lore states that they don't.
So yeah, the Titans don't want good for any planet. They're a bunch of assholes that really just want what's best for themselves, and best for themselves means not letting the void spread. That's really what it comes down to when it comes to the Titans.
Might just be becoming the new champion once again of the Titan Pantheon, and this time they're going to do it his way. This way, Illidan is essentially removed from his position, it becomes obsolete, and he needs to come back to Azeroth, which will all happen in the Last Titan. I can totally see an opening cinematic of Last Titan being Sargeras. He returns back to the fold, and he comes back for his sword, and this brings back the return of Illidan. Now, while they did say the sword removal thing is a 13 thing, I don't think it will be built up then, despite the fact that we are not even going to Silithus right now. They're going to start talking about it every now and then. They already gave us a small hint that the crystal turned when Sargeras struck. I think we will get further and further hints over the years that will paint a more clear picture on what is really going on. So it really seems like something crazy exciting is going to be happening in the World Soul Saga. I know we have a lot of things that are coming out, but this is realistically a fact. By all accounts, we're going to see Azeroth awakening, a possible giant Titan prison over the planet, the removal of the sword. All these events are going to be the biggest events that ever occurred in the history of the planet. Even the giant ones like the creation of the Black Empire or the Sundering were just really preparations or consequences of something like this finally happening. So the World Soul Saga from the lore perspective is going to be the craziest time ever for WoW lore. Thank you for watching. Check out my video on WoW 2 being possible by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on Ancient Training on the second channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Yeah, great video from Doran. Yeah, look, going back to the sword, I totally agree. It was like Chris Metzen literally left him this giant sword in the planet, and then he left the team, and they completely deviated from his plan. I think this was Chris's original plan from the very beginning, from the day he left the sword in the planet, was to kind of go through this entire episodic series of, okay, now we're going to deal with this giant sword that's in the planet. And finally, he came back, and we're actually going to do it. And it's all related to the Titans, the Void, everything. All these little threads that have been laid out through World of Warcraft throughout the very beginning are finally coming to fruition in this World Soul Saga. So it's exciting stuff. That's why the lore has been so good, I think, so far in the War Within. It's been really, really good stuff. The team's cooking, and I'm here for it. I'm ready to eat more of it, that's for sure.